born in obscurity 2,000 years ago in a remote corner of the Roman Empire, and yet today there are Christians in every country of the world. His exact date of birth is not known, yet human history is divided into the years before he was born and after he was born. Except for one brief period during his childhood, his travels were limited to an area about the size of Wales, but today his influence is literally worldwide, and his followers form the largest religious grouping that has ever existed. His public teaching lasted only 3 years and was restricted to a few parts of one of the world's smallest countries, yet today purpose-built satellites and some of the world's largest radio and television networks beam his teaching across the world. Pretty much everybody accepts that Jesus existed. Even Richard Dawkins, who is very passionately anti-religion, accepts that Jesus was a real person. The key question is, who was he? And who are we to believe on who Jesus was? Some people give us some very different verdicts on who Jesus was. If you've seen the film The Da Vinci Code, or if you read the book, you'll know that Dan Brown had turned up some evidence, as he said, that showed something very different to what the Gospel accounts tell us. Apparently Jesus married Mary Magdalene and had children by her. Or what about the Gospel of Judas? You may have heard of this. This came to light in recent years. It was published in 2006 by National Geographic. This ancient document of about the 2nd century AD gives information. According to this document, the 11 disciples all got it wrong about Jesus, and they all misunderstood, and only Jesus actually got it right. Sorry, only Judas got it right. In considering the claims, all these claims, the logical thing for us to do is to examine the evidence. The New Testament points to a very different picture to the one of the Da Vinci Code or the Gospel of Judas. So, which evidence is stronger? Which one should we believe? Last time, Richard explained to us how ancient authors corroborate the Gospels. He shared about how the original texts of the New Testament are far more reliable than many other ancient texts that nobody questions. For example, we have many, talking about Julius Caesar and Alexander the Great. We've got far more evidence for the New Testament than for either of those. One of the best attested ancient documents is actually Homer's Iliad, which is a famous Latin poem. And that poem, for that original document, we have 643 ancient copies of that. So that's pretty good. For the New Testament, we have 25,000 copies or part copies of the New Testament that are ancient. So that's pretty reliable. One scholar, well-known scholar called F.F. Bruce, he declared this, he said this: there is no body of ancient literature in the world which enjoys such a wealth of good textual attestation as the New Testament. So basically, it's more reliable, he is saying, than pretty much anything else out there from the ancient world. Dan Brown's theories, the Da Vinci Code, and the Gospel of Judas, and various other things like it, can't hold a candle to any of that. And very few people actually take them seriously. So in order to answer this question about who was Jesus, we can go to the New Testament and be confident that it is a reliable source. As we said already, most people accept that the evidence for the existence of Jesus is overwhelming. Most people think of him as, at the very least, a great moral teacher, maybe a genius of religion and philosophy, who made a remarkable impact. But where people get stuck is in actually calling him Jesus Christ, Son of God. Many people stop short of that. So what did Jesus say about himself? Did he claim to be God? So we're going to look together at 3 examples from the New Testament where I'm going to argue that Jesus claimed clearly to be God. And what I'm hoping to do is to whet your appetite, that you go away and read it up for yourself and see for yourself whether it adds up. First example, one time Jesus was debating with the Pharisees, the religious leaders of his time, and the debate was getting quite heated. In fact, so much so that they wanted to kill him. And this is taken from John 8, John's one of the Gospels, chapter 8. Jesus is speaking, and he says this: "Your father Abraham," he's speaking to the Jews, "your father Abraham rejoiced that he should see that he would see my day. He saw it and was glad." So the Jews said to him, "You are not yet 50 years old, and have you seen Abraham?" Jesus said to them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am." So that was the point, that they picked up stones to throw at him. But Jesus hid himself and managed to get out of the way. What was it that so upset the Jews about what Jesus had said? It was this little statement: "Before Abraham was, I am." It sounds odd. You've got "I was," "I am." But it wasn't a mistake, it was quite deliberate. Jesus quite deliberately used the present tense, "I am." He's saying by that he existed before Abraham, outside of time. In saying that, he's claiming to be God, because only God exists eternally outside of time. The Jews understood that, and that's why they wanted to stone him. One of the reasons that they understood that is because Jesus was making a reference here to something in the Old Testament, that's the Jewish Bible. When God revealed himself to Moses, he gave him instructions about what to say to the Israelites. Moses asked, "Whom shall I say has sent me?" God said to Moses, "I am who I am." This is what you are to say to the Israelites: "I am has sent me to you." The Hebrew name for God, Yahweh, is the third person of the verb to be. So when the Jews spoke about God using this name Yahweh, they were using his name and they were saying, "He is," the third person of the verb. But when God spoke about himself, he said, "I am." So when Jesus said, "I am," he was using the name of God. And that's why they wanted to stone him. Another very clear indication, I believe, that Jesus considers himself to be divine is the fact that he accepted worship. One of the basic teaching of the Old Testament, the Jews' Bible, was that only God could be worshipped. In the New Testament, the apostles were horrified if anyone tried to worship them. Peter, the apostle Peter, told the Roman centurion, Cornelius, when he bowed down before him, he said, "Straight away, stand up, I'm only a man." When Greeks tried to offer sacrifices to Paul and Barnabas, they rushed out, they tore their clothes in great distress, they pleaded with the crowd, "Men, don't offer sacrifices to us. Why are you doing this? We're only men like you." But when Jesus appeared to Thomas, something very different happened. It was after the resurrection of Jesus. Thomas had not been there when Jesus had appeared the first time. And when they told Thomas about it, Thomas refused to believe them. He famously said, "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands, and put my fingers where the nails were, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." A week later, Jesus appeared again. This time Thomas was there. Jesus said to him, "Put your finger here. See my nail, the imprints of my hands. Reach out your hand and put your hand into my side. Stop doubting and believe." Thomas replied, "My Lord and my God." Jesus replied, "Because you've seen me and you've believed, blessed are you because you've seen me and believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." Jesus didn't tell Thomas to stop. Jesus didn't tear his clothes like Paul and Barnabas had done. He simply accepted Thomas's worship. There could be no clearer demonstration that Jesus was claiming to be God. So Jesus Jesus applied the title of God to himself, the I am title, and he accepted worship. So one more example, our third piece of evidence. The title that Jesus most used of himself was actually Son of Man. Now at first sight that may not appear to be a claim of divinity, but when we dig a little deeper, we see that it is, because actually it's a reference to something from the Old Testament again, from the book of Daniel, where the figure that's described as the Son of Man is clearly a divine figure, because he's eternal and he's all-powerful. These are attributes that apply only to God. Mark chapter 2, some men brought a paralyzed friend to see Jesus. Now just imagine the scene here. The house was so crowded that they couldn't get in, so they came up with a plan. They decided that they would climb up on the roof and they would lower their friend down into the house where Jesus was teaching. So they started to unpick the roof and they lowered it down. So imagine what it was like. Jesus is there teaching and bits of the ceiling start falling down upon people, and a hole appears, and then this man is lowered down in front of Jesus. Must have been quite a thing. The first thing Jesus said to him was this: "Son, your sins are forgiven." The Jews were shocked. How can one man forgive the sins of another, they said. Especially if those sins weren't committed against him. You see, they understood that only God can forgive sins. Jesus knew what they were thinking. And he said to them, which is easier? To say to the paralytic, your sins are forgiven, or to say, rise, take up your bed and walk? But that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins, and then he speaks to the paralytic, I say to you, rise, pick up your bed and go home. The man immediately got up, picked up his bed, but the Jews knew that Jesus had claimed an authority that belonged only to God. So, three pieces of evidence that I've given you that Jesus really did claim to be God. Firstly, by using the I am, the title of God. Secondly, by accepting worship from Thomas. There are other examples of that as well. I just picked out one. And thirdly, by using this messianic title, Son of Man, and claiming the authority to forgive sins. There can be no doubt that Jesus did claim to be God. The question that we must now answer is whether or not to believe those claims. Famous Christian writer called C.S. Lewis said that we have three choices in considering who Jesus is. These three choices are this. He was either a liar, or he was a lunatic, or he was Lord of all. These are our three options. Firstly, that when he claimed to be God, he was lying. He said a lot of good stuff, but when he claimed to be God, he wasn't telling the truth. Or secondly, when he claimed to be God, he was deluded. He was suffering from some kind of delusional psychosis that gave him illusions of grandeur on a massive scale. Or thirdly, that he was who he said he was. When he claimed to be God, he was telling the truth. And he is God incarnate, and that God has chosen to reveal himself in the person of Jesus Christ. Those are our three options. I'm going to just spend a moment just looking at those three options. So first of all, that he was a liar. Let's think about that for a minute. If Jesus deliberately misled his followers, what could have been his motivation? Why would he do that? Was he looking to gain power and prestige? Well, that doesn't make any sense, because his claims to be God led to his execution. How could he derive any benefit when he was dead? How would a lust for power motivate him to undergo the suffering of the cross? At any moment, all he had to do was to say, okay, you're right, I made it up, I'm not God. And he could have brought that whole terrible trial and execution to an end. Or maybe it was what philosophers call a noble lie. That is, a lie that is told with an honourable motive to prevent unnecessary suffering. So, for example, if if the Nazi SS came to your house and asked if there were any Jews hiding there, and you said, no, there are none, that might be an example of a noble lie. Maybe Jesus told this noble lie because that way his followers would be persuaded to put into practice his radical teaching. But how would that work? They would be faced with such a huge disappointment and disillusionment when he failed to rise from the dead, as he promised that he would, that all his teaching would be undermined. Either way, Jesus can't be a liar and a great moral teacher. Okay, so it doesn't make any sense to say that he was a liar. But what if he was deluded? If he was deluded, then he was deluded on a grand scale. He talked about a final judgment day when he would be judging humanity. He would be separating out the sheep from the goats. He made statements like this: I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except through me. If those statements were the product of mental illness, then they were megalomania on an epic scale. Does it make any sense to say that such a person could be a great moral teacher? Could someone who is suffering delusions on that scale have convinced so many to suffer and die in his cause? John Forbes Nash Jr. is a mathematical genius who has won a Nobel Prize for his work on game theory. You may have seen the film A Beautiful Mind, which is based loosely on his life. If you've seen that film, you'll know that he struggled for much of his life with mental illness. And much of that film is taken up with exploring the effect of his delusions. He was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, and he had to be forcibly hospitalized at various points in his life. If you've seen that film, you'll have some idea of just how difficult life is for someone who suffers delusions on that scale, and for those who have to live with a person like that. They don't function well in life. They certainly would not be able to function as a great leader. If Jesus was not a liar, and he was not a lunatic, then we're left with only one possibility: he was Lord of all. He was who he said he was. When he told his followers, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father, he was telling the truth. I'm not expecting you to be instantly persuaded by my arguments, although it is my hope and my prayer that you come to agree with me. And I know that this argument is only valid if you accept that the Gospels are reliable documents. But I do hope that you'll see the need to investigate this properly for yourself. What we are proposing here is not some far-fetched fantasy. It is based on very sound and rational evidence. Evidence that's been accepted by millions of people for 2,000 years and is still accepted today. Still today, there are many thousands of people who are willing to give up their lives because they believe in Jesus. And we would plead with you to take him seriously and not let this go until you've established clearly in your mind, was he a liar or a lunatic, or is he Lord of all?